All right, we're finally here. We're live here at the Plex. We're brought to you by Gold Bar Whiskey in the Plex. And I got a special guest with me, my man, Cam Inman. How we doing?
Doing good. Now let's roll.
Let's do it, man.
It's football eve again, right? There's not many of these left possibly this season.
Well, yeah, it could be a couple more games or it could be 4 more and we're done, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm the optimist. I think that they can parlay Sunday's win and get a win tomorrow night against the Rams, and then you go to Miami and take down Mike McDaniel, and who knows?
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I've been telling everybody we might have a chance. It might be too little too late. Do you think it's too little too late at this point?
My lead for the last game was it was too much too late because they scored too many points. It's like, where's this been all season? I don't know. It all depends on what the other teams do now, right? Yeah. But it's better to actually show that you can battle and go for it than lay down and just say, see you next year.
Yeah, so you don't believe in tanking, right? I don't think the players do.
I don't think that's possible in football just because, I mean, every play you could be like a serious injury. So, no. You don't see guys that just have minor injuries saying, I'm out. That's because that would be more for your self-interest than the team. Nobody does that in football for the team's sake. So,
yeah.
No, absolutely not. Not when you're – I mean, if they were in any other division, maybe, but when the NFC West is still within reach – and you know the Seahawks can be like this, you keep riding it.
Well, yeah, the Seahawks, they have Green Bay and they have Minnesota coming up. So those are 2 losses that could potentially put the Niners back in top spot if they could just win their games. And that's why it's so crazy. I remember last week I was saying there's still a chance. It might be a few percentage, but if they win these games, they honestly have a great shot.
I mean, they just got to worry about the Rams because, everything else will just whatever happens, but you gotta. I mean, you have a great rivalry game going.
Yeah,
you can exhume all the Shanahan versus McVay stuff, Stafford versus what he did to this defense at the end in Week 3. There's a lot that can fire people up. Besides the fact that there won't be Trent Williams again, right?
Yeah.
But Jalen Moore has played really well for the last month. He's opened a lot of eyes because, I had a lot of doubts.
I did too.
Over the last – I think he was very serviceable as a backup, but he's proven he could be a starting tackle in this league.
Honestly.
He's made himself a lot of money in the last month.
Yeah, I honestly think the silver lining in Trent Williams not being there, which we all love him, the Silverback Hall of Fame guy, has the injury, but he's also going through a lot of personal stuff, is Jalen Moore has probably parlayed his way into the starting lineup for the future. Now, my question is, does he take that left tackle spot, or do they move him at right tackle?
No, I think McKivitz is your right tackle again next year. Okay. And I'm not ready to rule out Trent Williams until Trent Williams rules himself out. I think Jalen Moore would be more of they can keep him as a restricted free agent maybe, or he's not restricted. So, he's going to get some money.
Okay.
Here's what I'm curious about. Dominic Pooney's been really, really good at right guard.
Yeah.
He's a really smart guy. He's a big guy, but he's versatile and athletic. To me, I think he's a starting left tackle in the future.
See, I didn't even think of that.
I asked that in training camp.
Okay.
I said, would he get any reps? They said no.
No.
He's a right guard, and because obviously he doesn't need him at left tackle because you got Trent and Jalen Moore there. But if I'm the GM and I'm if I got this young dude that's he's playing at a pro level,
he's Pro Bowl
in his first year, I would consider it. It's a big deal though. So there's a lot, and there's a lot footwork, technique. Lot to do, and he's probably hitting that rookie wall right about now.
I don't know, man. He had maybe one bad game. He's top 5 in all of guards in the NFL. I think he's one of the only guards that hasn't even let up a QB hit. He's got 1 stack. This guy's fantastic.
Let's give Brock Purdy a lot of credit for how he's escaped a lot of jams this year.
Okay.
I think Brock may not be putting up the numbers he did last year, but he's got less to work with and less going on. This offense has obviously been out of sync, and that is a trickle-down effect from the special teams issues to the defense's issues, and it impacts the offense. The offense hasn't found a rhythm until last Sunday when they beat the Bears by 25?
Yeah,
right?
38-13.
Not everybody got the ball.
Oh, man, we'll have to talk about that.
Of all the timing, what are you doing? It's really unnecessary.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Deebo Samuel. He said he's not getting the ball enough. He tweeted it out. Brock had his back, right? And then George Kittle says he thinks he's going to get a big game this weekend. A week ago, George Kittle kind of said it the same way, I'm not getting the ball enough. But the way he said it, I felt was a little bit more appropriate than Debo.
I think it's two different stories. I think Kittle's was he had one catch the first play of the game in Buffalo. It was a snowstorm.
Yeah.
He's not supposed to get a ton of catches. I mean, why didn't you get a lot of catches? Because the snow was falling. We weren't passing the ball. Okay, Purdy threw for 94 yards, and nobody else was going off. All right, Georgia's different. Like I think that's a whole different thing.
Okay.
Debo's is after the fact. They gave him like 5 touches.
They did.
It's just I think it's the season-long frustration. He hasn't produced the last 4 games. Every time he runs the ball, there's nowhere to go. He can't like go past guys. Like I don't know. They haven't been very creative runs. It's more of a here. Like even last game they tried to send him up the middle. I'm like, well, that's not his game either. But there's things I have wrong with. First of all, I don't mind athlete voicing an opinion.
Sure.
And if you're a wide receiver, you're gonna want the ball. Keyshawn Johnson. I
said the same thing.
I got no problem with this. The fact that it's after you're on a win, you have positive vibes going. You don't need to bring in negative vibes. And why are you on Twitter? Are you the last athlete on X? Like you have your own podcast now. You have ways to get your own clicks on your podcast, and yet you steal it by putting it for free on. I mean, you're learning, you're watching this on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
How is he not? I mean, what is going on here?
Yeah.
So I just didn't like the whole vibe. I didn't think it was great. I thought it was unnecessary.
I agree. Right? I think it was definitely unnecessary, especially after a win. The vibes were up. Everybody's happy. And then here comes Debo. Oh, well, I could get the ball more. I mean, you had T.O. call him out. If all receivers.
Now, if you want to be, maybe it's unselfish saying I could get the ball more if we're better as an offense.
Yeah.
And they haven't been great as an offense until last game. So that's why I'm saying the timing of that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because obviously they all need the ball more because they need to score more. Debo loves putting the ball in the box.
Yeah, he does.
Right? And he's done it twice this season, and it's been 2 months. He needs to get in there and score more because he might be – I don't think he's going anywhere.
No. That was my next question. I mean, obviously he has incentives in his contract. He probably wants to score to hit those incentive markers, but – that was my next question, and we kind of talked about this off camera. Debo, there's been a lot of rumors. Will they get rid of him? Will they cut him post June 1st?
They could.
They could.
Okay, I mean, it's going to be a hit. It's going to cost you $30 million. Like, you get into the salary cap weeds, it's going to cost you twice as much to ditch him and then keep him.
Yeah.
One reason why you don't keep him is Ayuk going to be healthy from his knee reconstruction. Okay. What are you getting out of Ricky Pearsall? This is a big month to see what you can get out of Ricky Pearsall because for the last few weeks, they haven't thrown the ball to him because you're throwing it to Jennings and Kittle. So, and I don't blame Ricky. I mean, what you're getting out of Ricky Pearsall this year is a big bonus, considering what he's gone through. And by the way, I talked to him last week in the locker room. He is such a good dude.
Okay.
He's so positive and optimistic and not woe is me. And it's like, I've been through a lot. So the fact that I haven't caught a pass in 3 games is, hey, there's bigger things in life. But he's also doesn't minimize it because he says, I'm a competitor.
Yeah.
I want the ball, but he's not going down to Twitter.
He's not going to go on Twitter and say, I need the ball, man. I need the ball for real. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's different ways you handle it. Wide receivers are always in that, that dramatic run. But yeah, I think Ricky Pearsall, we want to see him shine because we drafted him in the first round, and the 49ers and first round picks usually have weird energy.
Every single one of those guys is so different. You know what's funny was, so I spoke today at a lunch in Los Gatos.
Okay.
And one of the dudes, he was like neighbors with Javon Kinlaw.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, so I got to know Javon pretty well over the years.
Yeah.
I think he kind of got a bad reputation. For one, he got like pigeonholed into I'm sorry, you're a first round pick. You got to beat a Forrest Buckner.
Yeah.
And we're sorry that you have bad knees and it's going to take you a few years.
Yeah.
And people hated on him. I thought he was a good dude. He's a big guy that had some health issues.
Yeah, he had bad knees.
And it's like, he couldn't get low and have there was issues with the run game, right?
Sure.
But he wasn't a bad guy. So I just like to hear the neighbor said he was a really nice guy. So that's why it's really hard to rip these first round picks that they have because everybody has a different story.
That's true.
The Reuben Foster, Solomon Thomas,
man.
different. Once they got in the NFL, their personal lives had a lot of impact on them.
Yeah, that's true.
Ayuk was a guy that was kind of off the radar initially, and then it's like, oh my God, this guy's a back-to-back 1,000-yard receiver. And hopefully he gets his career back on track because that's a pretty big injury. So.
That was a massive injury, and that's what I'm worried about. And it makes sense that you say that because of Ayuk's injury, it could potentially keep the door open for Debo not leaving next year, which a lot of people are rumoring. And his trade value, to me, honestly, is kind of taking a hit this year with how bad he's played.
there's 31 teams in this league that need a playmaker.
That's true.
There's the New York Jets that haven't gone to the playoffs in 15 years.
Yeah.
There's teams that'll want a proven playmaker and they can sell it that we're getting an all-pro guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously his stock's gone down.
Yeah.
And I think he knows that. That's why he wants the ball to get the stock back up.
And that's the other point is he's trying to say, okay, I know my market is dropping. I need to show that I can do it, because if he's not going to be on this team, he wants to make his market value as high as he can.
My problem with this, he hijacked the week of good vibes.
I know.
The story should be on Juwan Jennings this week.
Absolutely. He always gets lost in the shuffle every time he has a big game.
Juwan Jennings, like he talked to Matt Burrows and I last week at his locker.
Okay.
And so we were gonna like stash stuff for this week, respectively. And but like Debo he stole the news cycle.
He did.
And it's just that's sadly the state of journalism right now.
Yeah.
Good, but Juwan Jennings has been outstanding.
Unbelievable. He's 7th round pick. He's on his way to having his first 1,000-yard receiving yards season. Honestly, they gave him an extension last year because he's restricted. They might need to give him another extension this year.
He plays now. He switched positions to split end.
Yeah.
And he said the biggest difference in that is instead of being on the field for like 50% of the plays or 20 to 30 snaps, he's on there for a lot more, like 50 to 60 snaps.
Yeah.
So it's about his wind and conditioning, but he also has Brock Purdy's trust, and that's valuable. And he said he gets it. Like Brock knows he can throw it up because Juwan's contest 3rd and Juwan.
Yeah.
But Juwan also knows where to go because he's also been a quarterback. He said that's where like his time as a high school quarterback, and we went to Tennessee as a quarterback, translates where he can understand not only what Brock's seeing, but the defensive coverages.
Definitely. He was also a safety, I believe.
Yeah, he was safety, but he was also a basketball player. And I said, is that how like you get your contact and your rebound? He's like, no, it's different in basketball and football. Football, you're just trying to catch the ball.
Yeah.
In basketball, you're trying to catch the ball and set yourself up to immediately score.
Yeah.
Right? Football is not quite like that. Although these Yak boys try to take the ball. I mean, they kind of do.
Yeah, yeah. No, Juwan Jennings has been unbelievable. You know, unfortunately, he missed a few games, but when he's been in that lineup, he's been the most reliable target. Like
George Kittle's been most reliable.
Probably, yeah, okay.
George Kittle is a Hall of Fame player already. He's the best tight end in Niner history already.
Easily.
And he writes a hell of a forward for a book, by the way.
I know. We're going to get into that, actually. Yeah. So real quick, let's get into that now. You wrote your book this year. You were telling me about it, how you took, some time. You wrote it in the off season, and go ahead and tell them a little bit of what the book's about. Give them a brief synopsis and what your whole process of writing that book was.
So this is my 25th year covering the Niners and the NFL. Most of it as a beat writer, other times as columnist. And so when I got approached about this book, I said, all right, I could do it. I'm like, dude, the Niners haven't won a Super Bowl in 30 years. Like, who's going to buy a book, right? I'm like, well, tell us the history of the Niners from your perspective, because I've done interviews with all the big guys in the franchise for 25 years. So there's insights in here that you may not know. And then there's also new stuff from talking to guys over the last year or two to plug in. So you kind of get a grasp of of all years to go back and abandon the current state and go back to relive the glory days. Now's a good time to buy the book.
Yeah.
And it's a good holiday buy, fits in the stocking. It was fun to do. And there's a lot of chapters on the quarterbacks, the legends, the coaches, free agents, draft. It's kind of a good history lesson too.
Yeah.
But as my neighbor John says, because there's about 40-something chapters, you can flip through wherever you want and not feel like you're like, oh God, I got to sit down for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's cool. You just knock out a chapter in 10 minutes, get off your phone, put your phone down once you're done watching this on YouTube.
Yeah.
You pick up the book, read a chapter or two, and kind of calm yourself, and it's all good.
No, it's a good book. You gave me a copy. I know. I really appreciate it. I was checking it out as soon as I got it, and reading about the quarterbacks was just like, oh man. And you're right. You don't have to go from page to page, and you can read it. I remember traveling to Green Bay a couple weeks ago, and I was reading more chapters because there's, trying to kill time. And not only that, I'm like, oh, let me read more about the Niners. So definitely good read. I loved it. And I hope you can make another book, man.
You want me to write another book?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
They when I was speaking today at the Lions Club, they were asking me about all the best stadiums and the worst stadiums.
Yeah.
I've been to every NFL stadium, city, and all
wow.
that. And so I'm explain it and describe it. They're like, you should do your next book on. I go, well, if you follow me on Facebook, I go, I'm private on Facebook, but everybody, all my close friends, they get my travel blog breakdown.
See, that would be cool because I haven't been to all the games and all the stadiums. I'm starting to do
and I do
road
it from
games.
a fan perspective of not this is the museum you got to go to and blah 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 or Yelp. It's more of a, like, these are the sports bars you want to hit. If you're going to go on a run, go to this place. If you need a barbershop, go here. Here's your food. Here's the good local beer
that's
spot.
what I need. I need to know the food spots when I'm out, you know.
Right.
Luckily, when I was in Green Bay, my buddy lives there, so he kind of showed me the ropes. But sometimes I go out, like Arizona last year, I didn't know anything out there.
Arizona's so spread out.
Yeah.
And Buffalo was a fun trip. That's a once every 8-year trip. So
yeah, you might
they won't be back there for a while.
Yeah, I got to know where the best buffalo wings are. So write the book so I can figure it out next time.
I mean, we went to the original spot, was the Anchor Bar.
Okay.
I'm not a wings guy because I think there's so much mess for such little payoff.
Yeah.
But this was the place to do it. It was pretty good. A little crispy. I like the crispier ones.
Okay.
But yeah.
I'll have to check it out. I've never been to the East Coast, actually, my whole life. So I need to travel up there.
Well, there's a football game next weekend in Miami. That's on the East Coast.
Well, I've been to Miami. I wouldn't say that's
East Coast.
You think that's East Coast?
Bro, that's the Atlantic Ocean, pal. That's East Coast.
Well, I've been to I'm talking about New York, the traditional East Coast.
Yeah, I mean, Philly is.
Yeah.
Those Philly games the last couple of years with that, like, that's what they're like. What are the fans like? Are they the same across the country? I go, no. In Philly, they want you to fear for your life.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And it's a unique experience.
It is a unique experience. I remember in baseball, they had a guy, they were throwing batteries at him years ago because he left. Yeah.
When we were in Philly last year, the fans are right up against the press box glass.
Oh.
And drunk fan in Nick Foles jerseys banging on the glass, the glass windows, and they open. And it's like, it's right here, and you're Mayoko, and I'm right here, and the glass doors open. And this guy, and all the fan, voices just come screaming into the press box. We're like, holy crap. We're shutting the window. And we're looking like, can somebody lock these? They're like, yeah, we'll get to it in a half hour. We're like, this guy ready to jump in and kill us. We're like, we didn't do anything. But by the end of midway through the fourth quarter, after the Niners had dominated Nick Foles' jersey is walking out. Later, adios.
He had to beat the crowd to get home. Yeah,
he had to go help Dom to his car. Big Dom to his car.
Dom. Oh man, so was that the worst experience you've had at a game, or fan base that you've seen?
Fan base wise, I mean, yeah. I mean, there's not. I think for the most part, they can be pretty civil. It's just, even in LA, where the Niners take over LA.
Yeah.
My daughters came to the game this year in LA.
Okay.
And I said, listen, a fight's going to break out. Just be ready for a fight and get the hell away from it. So the next day, you see a viral fight break out on the concourse. And sure enough, I didn't see my daughters, but my daughter's like, look in the background. See me pulling daughter Brooke behind the concession counter? Wow. So they were right there, and they knew. They listened to Dad. Father knows best. So that's all good.
That's smart. Yeah. There's always.
But I mean, it always happens because it's like you have 70,000 people. Half of them are hammered and get offended. And they're supporting their team, the faithful. So I think the good thing is there haven't been any crazy incidents at Levi's this year in recent years where it's made the stadium and the city look bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like all it takes is one bad apple, right? It's kind of unfair to paint that for everyone. Because also, Raider fans had such a bad image of them, but they also were so committed to their team. It was unfair to some of it, and you never know.
It's true. I mean, I've seen many fights. Last game I went to at home at Levi Stadium, 2 Niner fans were fighting, but obviously,
Green Bay fans, I would say they were nice, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. Green Bay fans, the nicest people I've met. Yeah, Midwest hospitality. Yeah, it was nice. So definitely wouldn't mind going back down there again to check it out. That was the first time at Lambeau, and
it's a cool historic. You got to do it to get the feel of it, and just driving down a neighborhood going, whoa, there's a big plaques here.
And you can park on the guy's lawn right by the stadium. It's super cool. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. So good times at Green Bay. Good time traveling on the road games. I want to do it more. So
I think a lot of Niner fans in the last 10 years have done it.
Yeah.
And because it's picked up more steam, and it's a great weekend getaway, and you can get, some affordable tickets. It's cool. It's a good thing to do. And I've gotten to meet a lot of fans on the road. I really enjoy it. So it's good.
Yeah, I always see so many people on the road and Niner fans. So it's always definitely cool seeing them. And now there's always invasions, 49er invasions or rally parties. So if you go to those,
you're not alone.
Yeah.
You're on the road, you're going to have buddies.
Yeah, it's fun. So definitely cool to see all the road games. And maybe you can write a book about that one day because that'd be pretty cool. You have good experiences.
It's called Yelp.
Yelp. Well, yeah, that's true. Yelp. Yeah, put it all in one category. There you go. Right. So this Thursday, tomorrow night, Niners, Rams. This is a big one because the Niners, like we talked about earlier, could get back in the mix. What do you think? Niners winning this game tomorrow? Or you think they can?
I did. I picked that. So I do Channel 5 every week on the Red and Gold show. I think it was airing tonight later. I picked the Niners 33-31, I think. Initially, I was going to go low because I'm like, if rain's coming in, and I'm like, but the rain should be done by kickoff, right? Unlike in Buffalo where the snow's supposed to be done, and it like dumped.
It went over.
I'm thinking the weather should be fine, but the field might be a little slick, so the defenses might not be so solid. I'm not so sure about the Rams. I think the Rams have a good defensive front. That's on.
They do.
They're on the come.
Yeah, young defensive linemen that they drafted, very good. Yeah.
Both Florida State kids. Yeah. They played with Tatum Bethune and Renardo Green.
Correct.
I did a story on those guys in week 3 with them. But I'm not sold, and I think that the Niners offense kind of found a little groove.
Yeah.
So, but it's the Bears, and it's just like I really temper a lot of that, and I don't, as much as I love the storyline of Demo and Brock fired up everybody, change your mindset. I think these guys knew the mindset that they were up against it, and your job's on the line because you could be unemployed in a month.
Yeah,
and it's still the case. And Fred Warner is usually a big hype guy, right?
Yeah.
So in practice last week, I saw Fred talking to Shanahan.
Yeah, I saw that
Fred's
video.
Usually doing the pregame or the pre-practice huddle.
Yeah.
So I asked Fred this week. I go, hey, what was that about? I don't think I've ever seen you and Shanahan just hang out, because Kyle's usually hang out with the wide receivers or whatever, and Fred's usually hanging with the linebacker coach. Fred's like, I had new cleats on, so I was lacing them up a little late. Then Kyle and I just started talking. I go, were you guys one concocting this who's going to speak kind of thing and save the season stuff? He goes, nah, but that's a good way to try to spin it.
Yeah, that's a good spin. Yeah, that's a good way to spin. You should have rolled with that.
Take that, man. Yeah. Take that. No, you want to do that. So Fred's a good dude. I think they're really lucky to have him. And I know it's a hard year for him because he's not getting the tackle. I mean, it's bizarre that he had 3 tackles last game. He's like, 14 over the last 4 games? That's almost as unproductive as Debo, but at the same time, Fred is the captain of this whole.
But I give Fred Warner a little pass. He's been playing with a fractured foot like that.
He's also been playing with different guys around him.
Yeah, it's true.
He's been playing behind a new defensive front that's taken a while to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
They're playing next to Devondre Campbell, who was a liability in coverage for a long time, but he's played better.
Better the last couple of weeks,
And D. Winters is kind of still learning the NFL game. He's like fast, but he's not quite there.
Yeah.
So I really want to see Dre Greenlaw play.
I was just going to bring it up. Tomorrow, most likely he's expected to play. He was full practice participant today.
But these are walkthrough practices.
Yeah,
I don't know why they need to say. I think it's more of we just got to make sure he doesn't blow anything out the next 2 days.
Yeah.
They're not practicing hard.
They're just walking through.
It's walkthrough.
Because it's a Thursday night short turnaround.
Correct. But he's been running good on the side. He's ready to go, man. It's Dre. It's just they've had to hold him back because you don't want him overdoing it.
Yeah.
He's only 10 months removed from this. That's pretty
pretty gnarly. I mean, it's a crazy injury. We saw it, and the chance of reoccurrence could be high if you rush him too fast.
And you got the last couple of Achilles comebacks were Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins, and those guys haven't looked very good.
No.
Crabtree came back.
He did.
From that was like in 2013 maybe or 12.
Yeah, 2013.
And he tore his in OTAs and then came back in December, which was kind of like, what? He's back? So. But he does look healthy, so hopefully it works out good for him.
We need him. I mean, because I think you're right. Fred Warner's had to overcompensate, play like superhero on a bad leg, new defensive scheme, not scheme, but new defensive coordinator. Not only that, you got
young safeties, and those safeties would get out of position and not help you. It's like that's why the whole mantra of every defense is do your job.
Yeah.
Because if you're not in your gap and you're bumping into somebody and taking out your teammate, and it's like, what the heck just happened? And it's like, sorry, busted.
Yeah, and that's the thing is they've been getting a lot of new guys. Like we've seen Mustafa, who's been good, but he's out. So now you got to go back to Jair Brown, who's been up and down, and then Hufanga, who's back from the injury. I know he's still trying to get back into form. So this whole defense has been just recycling players. It's been tough.
At the start of the year, it dawned on me that this is a whole makeover of the defense.
Yeah, it is.
It's a rebuild defense before we knew it, just because you had Bosa and you had Fred, and then you had Lenore and Mooney were coming along, but you had a lot of new guys thrown in there and a new defensive coordinator. And it's like, whoa, do we know what's going on? This is a big whoa defense. It's like, this is not the intimidating defense, but it's going to help them next year.
It will.
No matter how this season ends, that should help next season. I still think there'll be a lot of new guys coming in next year because they need to.
They need to, and save money.
But I also think next year's team is set up for success way more than this year's team was. Okay. And I think obviously there's a Super Bowl hangover, but there's so many like self-interest and business and off-field crap all year long. And next year you have an easier schedule.
Yeah.
And there's not that huge pressure and like black cloud hanging over you. And I think Brock Purdy will have been paid. He's your quarterback. I think Shanahan's staying put.
Yeah.
You have a lot of the star players still locked in. So I know we're looking ahead, but I'm still optimistic. It's like I've seen too many of these.
Yeah.
I don't think they're there. It's like it's not a we're strapped against a cap. We're going to cut guys. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah. Well, they got a lot of expiring contracts, like you said, a lot of young guys who this year may not have been, at their full peak, but they're going to learn from the staff is going to learn from that. Guys like D Winters. So next year they'll have a lot of young guys that have been through the fire on cheaper contracts. So I think it will be good. And if they continue to draft like they did this year, holy moly, because this year's draft was.
Well, I think this year these rookies though, I think they're doing okay.
Yeah.
But I think everybody jumped the gun and was praising how great they were just because they're playing.
Yeah.
Okay, they're playing because there was nobody better.
They had no choice. Yeah.
Now that's no disrespect to Pooney and Bernardo Green and Mustafa. They've all made some really good plays, which is huge for a rookie.
For sure.
But I think this is going back. Garendo was pretty good last week.
Yeah,
I think
he was.
That was the best he's looked all season. There were so many runs for no gain or a fumble on a kick return where you're going, is he an NFL guy?
Yeah.
Because he's a bigger upright speedster.
He missed a few blocks early in the season.
He did. There were issues, but that's rookie growing pains.
Yeah.
But you're getting McCaffrey back. I mean, next year could have turned when McCaffrey surrendered in Buffalo and slid. I'm like, if he tore that Achilles, that's next year.
He's gone.
So the fact that it was when we heard a knee, a patella, and I'm like, okay, that's way better.
PCL's 100 times better. It's not a good injury, but it's definitely better than tearing your Achilles and being pretty much done for next year. So there is hope for the running back field. Jordan Mason's restricted. They'll probably bring him back on a cheaper deal, hopefully, unless somebody wants to give him a bag,
It depends on what you tender him at, because you can't tender him original because that would be 7th round because he's undrafted.
He was undrafted, yeah.
So that's the cheapest. So if I'm any team, I'm taking that. So if they want to keep him, which I'm sure they do, you're going to have to give him a 2nd or 3rd round tender or whatever it is. So he's going to get some money.
He's going to get some pay.
You have to do that because insurance behind McCaffrey
you need your insurance behind
unless you're that sold on Garendo, but the Niners, you're on your 4th running back right now.
They blow through running backs every year. So you have to make sure Mason's a priority next year. Yeah, for sure. And there's a lot of other guys. We talked about Greenlaw, Hufunga, a lot of expiring contracts. So these guys are not just playing to play. They're playing to show that they got some film out there they can put on there. Because if they're not with the Niners, they need to show people that they still got it in. So it's going to be an interesting offseason. Now, you brought up Brock Purdy, that he's going to get paid. What do you think? How much is he worth? How much do you think he's going to get paid?
I think he's whatever the market is. I think people got to separate that and not he's not a, Josh Allen, $60 million a year MVP. Baloney. He was an MVP finalist last year.
Wow,
Why would you not say that? It's just absolutely he is. So he's going to get whatever the market going rate is. Is he a Dak Prescott market rate?
Probably.
Well, that's the Cowboys had to do that, right? I mean, was Trey Lance? He can't even get in ahead of Cooper Rush.
He can't even beat
and
Cooper
Rush was terrible the other night.
Yeah.
I mean, Brock's their guy. I think he has a full trust of Shanahan. So it's not look. They paid market rate for Kaepernick.
Yeah.
They paid market rate for Garoppolo. It's the business of the NFL. It's not if they're not going to make him play out the rookie year of his contract.
No, that would be crazy.
It's such a disrespectful thing to do.
That would be so disrespectful. Yeah. I thought about that too.
I mean, if that shoulder was more messed up than we know a few weeks ago, then I have concerns.
Okay.
Yeah. The fact that it's not, I hope, that's a strong sign that it's not a major injury, that it's okay. I just was very fearful because there's a shoulder injury, a throwing shoulder of quarterback is a big deal, but everything points that it's okay. So he should get paid. I mean, I'd invest in him, and whatever that is, it is. If he takes a not as long of a deal, maybe that's your hometown kind of discount.
3 years instead of the 4 or 5.
I mean, the way they monkey with these contracts, anyhow, it could be a 3-year contract and they void out the rest somehow.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's there's always escape hatches in every long-term NFL contract.
Yeah, there's always ways around it. They can restructure. And the Niners, they restructure contracts every year. They go through the list. Okay, we're going to restructure your deal, and
And the cap's going up, man.
Yeah. So every year the money goes up.
I'm telling people, don't worry about that money.
Okay.
They have the right bean counters up there, knowing what to do, and they have an ownership that's willing to pay. This is not the Bengals. These guys have been paying out money a ton for the last 5 years.
They have.
To guys that have proven themselves. They've lived up to it for the most part. Like somebody is saying, like, if these guys hold out, that's why they stink. I go, that's not true. Bosa held out last year.
Yeah.
He got paid, and he had a good year. He wasn't great,
He
but
wasn't
everybody
elite,
wants him to be TJ Watt. He's not. It does. That's not how this system is set up. I'd love to see a different defensive system.
Yeah.
Where it's just instead of lining him up and go that way, and then where'd who go?
Yeah.
It's figure out a way to use him more on a down by down basis, and I almost seemed like that's kind of what they were doing before he got hurt when he sacked Geno. And I'm like, hey, look, he was lined up next to Leonard Floyd at one point. I'm like, that's creative stuff. Let's go.
How you got to do it. And to me, that's where I said this a couple times that maybe they need to get away from the wide 9. And I know they've been sticking to that. That's what's worked for them. But maybe teams have figured it out.
Mix it up.
Yeah, maybe even throw in some more exotic stuff.
Well, how many sacks do they have outside of defensive linemen?
Oh, man. Outside of a defensive lineman, how many sacks do they have off top? I don't know. That's it?
Fred Warner.
Wow.
Like in week 2 against Minnesota.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So it's like,
that's it.
Give me a nickel blitz. Send up a linebacker up the gut. But I mean, if Devondre Campbell or Fred, they can't go up the gut. So, but send me a Jair Brown up the gut. He's fast. Mustafa's a missile.
Mustafa, yeah.
But Mustafa's out this week.
Yeah, so he's got a chest injury. He's going to be out. Yeah. So it's unfortunate. So, I mean, yeah, hopefully Bosa's back. He's questionable tomorrow. They need him.
Do you think he's playing?
Man, I think he's not going to play this weekend. I don't think so.
I think he's playing.
You think so?
I think he's playing because it's the Rams.
Okay.
And he's playing a quarterback who's a statue.
Yeah, Matt Stafford's a statue.
If it's Lamar Jackson or somebody, I don't want him messing it up.
Running and tweaking.
Right?
Yeah.
I think he plays. I'm more optimistic. But it very well could be just gamesmanship to say he's questionable.
Yeah, that's true. That could be. But, it is a good sign. Last week was doubtful. This week he moved up to questionable. So it's definitely more optimistic. But
it also helps that Yetur Gross-Matos got his hat trick.
He was cooking, man. He was cooking. And Leonard Floyd's been playing good the last couple of weeks.
He's just been steady.
Yeah,
he's a steady guy.
I think, like
he's
you said
steady
earlier,
and reliable.
I think you said earlier, a lot of these newer guys trying to get adapted to the defense. I feel like Floyd just looks more comfortable out there. So
I think so. But here's the other factor. They played the Bills, the Bears, and now the Rams. Those are Leonard Floyd's 3 last employers.
Oh, that's true.
So,
wow, yeah.
So he's familiar with all three of those offenses.
A couple revenge games there for him. Yeah.
It's the Leonard Floyd revenge gauntlet.
It's the revenge tour for Leonard Floyd there. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, this week maybe he might go crazy on him. That's a good point. I didn't even think of that. Wow, look at that. That's a good one.
I'm a professional.
I know. You got this. That's why you get paid the big bucks. That's why you're writing the books. That's why you're here. That's why we love you, Cam. You know what? So, a couple last things here. You talked about Brock Purdy. We've talked about, Christian McCaffrey and everything. But who is somebody under the radar that we haven't talked about that is in jeopardy of maybe not being back with the team next year?
It's hard to say because it's almost like it's the NFL, so everybody's open, right?
Yeah.
You just don't know. Maybe I'll tell you a weird story.
Okay,
all right,
let's do it.
So it's Tuesday. It's a short week. We're only in the locker room for one day this week.
Yeah.
And the season's getting away from us before we know it. How many quarterbacks the Niners keep on their roster this season?
You got 3, right?
4.
4, because Mordecai.
Tanner Mordecai. Yeah. So I went up and introduced myself to him in the locker room this week because I'm like, what's going to happen with it? Like, they kept him all season long.
They did.
So he could be like a number 3 next year. So to me, it's more, I was just kind of curious. So I checked in with him and Mason Klein.
Yeah.
Because I can see both of those guys contributing like in 2 or 3 years. Like,
sure.
Here's the weird thing is Mordecai is older than Brock Purdy by a month.
Oh, wow.
He's 25. Brock turns 25 in about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And really good kids. And they've been working hard on the side that there's no reason to know about them, but they're like the last 2 guys on the practice squad that have not played this year.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because every practice squad guy eventually gets called up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Those guys haven't because they were so raw and they're behind and they're learning. But it's very encouraging to see them still here, and they're very happy by being on this team.
Okay.
So that's kind of just like behind the scenes like stuff that you don't think about, and like who's not going to be here. I mean, who knows? They could change out a lot of coaches.
Yeah.
Not Shanahan.
Definitely
They could change out a lot of the linebackers.
Okay.
I think you got some good young corners. Safeties are in flux because I think you bring in another top-notch safety to compete. But I think they want to keep Huff.
Yeah.
I think they like Mustafa. Brown's is like a backup.
Yeah.
You need defensive line help they just didn't get enough in the
didn't.
offseason.
Yeah.
And I really didn't like the fact that they didn't draft a defensive lineman.
I was surprised.
I think part of it's because they banked on Robert Beal contributing more.
Yeah.
They were not banking on Drake Jackson because they knew how serious of an injury he was.
Yeah.
Which to me, they knew that they should have drafted another guy.
They should have. And I was so surprised they didn't go like at least one defensive line. Because typically they go, they always get defensive
I didn't think they needed to draft Ricky Pearsall in the first round. I wanted to see them draft a defensive lineman. No offense to Ricky. I mean, I think he's going to be a good pro. And he looked really good in the spring.
Yeah, he did.
But he missed all of training camp. So he's still playing catch up in this offense. It's so hard to do as a rookie.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, what Ayuk did as a rookie was a really amazing thing when you look back on it.
Yeah, he was involved in a lot of the, those jet sweeps and everything. He had a good rookie season, if you consider it.
It'd be nice to see a Jacob Cowing do one of those, huh?
I was hoping that he would, but, I don't know. Shanahan and rookie wide receivers or offensive skill players got to earn their trust, So.
For good reason. You got to hold that ball.
Yeah, you're right.
That's no turnovers tomorrow. They have a chance.
I think so. I think they should be able to win tomorrow, but it's not going to be easy. Puka and Cooper, they're back. Last time we played the Rams, they beat us with Tutu Atwell.
They beat you with Kyron Williams.
I know. And Tutu Atwell.
Kyron Williams steamrolled Hufanga at the goal line.
I remember that.
So
yeah.
Kyron Williams had all 3 of their touchdowns, so do not dismiss that. And this Niner defense, 19 rushing touchdowns allowed. That's 6 shy of season record.
Woo!
That is not good, bro.
It's not good. No. Yeah. Hopefully the energy from Dre Greenlaw will give him a little oomph, but I mean, he can't do everything on his first game back. You can't expect him to be Superman, So we'll see. So you got your score prediction. I'm going to give you my score prediction. Okay. I think the Niners are going to take care of business tomorrow. 27-21. I got Brock Purdy and Juwan Jennings going crazy like they did last time against the Rams. This time, Juwan Jennings gets to actually enjoy a victory over the Rams. And I think George Kittle definitely gets another red zone touchdown. He's been cooking. Team MVP, as you mentioned, he's been unbelievable. But they got to establish that run game. The big question tomorrow, Isaac Orendo, will he play? I hope he does. They need him. Otherwise, I'll be a little worried if Patrick Taylor's running back one.
I think he's all right. Yeah. He's fine. Pick 6, Diamador Lenore.
Okay, pick 6, Diamador Lenore. I love it. I got Leonard Floyd getting 2 sacks on his former team, Matt Stafford. I like it. That's good.
Yeah.
Pick 6, Diamador Lenore.
They've had a lot of pick 6s against the Rams.
Yeah, they have.
So just keep. I mean, even Kinlaw did.
I remember. Yeah, Kinlaw, rookie season.
Kinlaw, Hufanga, Fred Warner.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's keep the tradition going. Let's get a pick 6 with Diamador Lenore. Let's go. All right, Cam. Appreciate you for hopping on today.
Yeah.
Love it. So we're here at the Plex. We got your book, The Franchise.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we got The Franchise. You can buy it on Amazon, or you can go to caminman.com or DM me on Instagram at 49ers.cam. I got more copies coming in, like a shipment coming in. So hopefully it comes in. I can mail them out. I've been mailed out to probably a couple hundred of 49er fans all across the country, some internationally, but it's a lot easier if you're in country. And we'll get that to you. So, yeah, thanks.
Very good. And for those tuning in, appreciate you. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe. We'll be back live tomorrow. And you know what? We got a game tomorrow. Let's keep the faith. Let's hope we get this dub, Niner fans. And always go Niners. Let's go, baby. All right.